Hello, chapter 23, part 2. It might even be a part 3, it's a long chapter. Who? Asked Lucky, clutching at hope. The Star Talker of the future, said Professor Bazantine. You see, she has knowledge of things that are presently unknown, and have never been known. So if anyone knows, it's her. To consult her... and as it happens, I would rather like to visit her, to consult her about the mysteries before us. I see no reason why Lucky should not come along too, and ask her about Charon. It cannot hurt, can it? I agree, said Mystica. It is decided. She looked at Lucky in the same way she looked at him in the cell on the space gate, with nothing but love in her golden eyes. Do you have anything else to tell us, Lucky? She asked gently. He felt too guilty to speak. If she knew the truth about President Thorntree, would she feel the same? But he couldn't risk telling her. Thank you, he said. I would love to meet the Star Talker of the future. But where is she? She never left her home planet, said the Professor. She alone persuaded her people to remain neutral in the war, so she is still to be found on Scorpio 6. Scorpio, muttered Captain Knox. The most remote Axis system? It was always difficult to get there, and now you have to fly through a war zone to reach it. He shook his head. There will be battles, Skyhawk patrols, obstacles every step of the way, but if this is the will of the stars, I will try to find a route. He reached for the astrolabe and Lucky handed it over at once. The captain's face creased with lines of fierce concentration as he summoned all his strength, all his experience. He laid his fingers on the black metal disc and shut his eyes. The astrolabe flickered faintly with starlight. The captain seemed to go into a trance, whispering urgent phrases beneath his breath. His fingers moved purposefully over the dials, making every effort. Lucky could see the dials turning as the captain tried many routes, even projecting them onto the cabin's vidscreen so everyone could see, but none of them seemed to work. After several long, painful minutes, the captain came out of the astrolabe again. He looked drained, his face as grey as his horns. It's hopeless, he said. The space lanes ahead of us are total chaos. I cannot find a single course that will get us to Scorpio safely. Professor Bazantine cleared his throat. Perhaps, he said, you should let Lucky try. Me? Said Lucky, startled. The captain shook his head. Navigation is not child's play. The number of possible routes to Scorpio is literally infinite. I'm well aware of that, said the Professor. However, the boy has been practicing very hard with that astrolabe. You might be surprised at how good he is now. Lucky flushed with embarrassment. I could try, he said. There is no route, said Knox wearily. I am certain of it. But there must be, said Lucky. There always is. He could imagine being in there, tracing pathways through the stars. It made him feel better to think of such things, rather than President Thorntree's secrets and lies. Captain, you gave me an apprentice navigator's ident, so let me be your apprentice. Let me help you. I can. I know I can. Captain Knox shook his head. There was a strange look in his eyes, as if the fires inside them were somehow burning out, turning cold. Get it into your head, boy, he said. There is no way you're ever going to fly this ship. It's mine. Do you understand? Mine. Lucky flinched as if he'd been slapped in the face, but Professor Bazantine spoke up at once. Of course it's yours, Captain, he said mildly, but Lucky is not proposing to fly the ship. Real-time navigation at the speed of dark is a task for only the most experienced pilots, such as your good self. No, all he will do is search for a route, and if he happens to find one, why then, you can use it or not as you wish. Knox did not reply. Still his eyes had that strange cold look. Mystica reached out and took his hand. She held it gently, held on to him in the soft candlelight of her cabin. After a moment the captain shuddered and a spark of fire flickered into his eyes. They seemed to come back into focus as if his mind had been a million miles away. I'm sorry, he says, starting to shiver. Go ahead, boy. If you really think you can find a route with that astrolabe of yours, then go ahead and try. Lucky took a deep breath, unnerved by the captain's strange behaviour. He took this astrolabe in his hands and did his best to concentrate on it. Now, we've got some excellent illustrations. The symbols began to glow, the dials began to move, they shimmered beneath his fingertips as the metal pulsed and blazed and throbbed with light. And then Lucky went into the astrolabe. He became part of it again. He couldn't see Mystica's cabin anymore, but he could see the stars all around him, above him, below him. Their scorching faces stared right back at him, so clear and close he could taste them on his tongue. He was floating in space amongst them, in that astral body once more. He could hear their silvery songs chiming out in waves of overwhelming power. Do not doubt it. You can do it. You can learn to fly. No matter how many times he heard these songs, he never got tired of them. Please show me all the routes to Scorpio 6, he asked the astrolabe in his mind. Lines of silver light swirled out from the stars in every direction, every possible pathway through space, spiralling into infinity. He remembered how that used to scare him, made him dizzy, but now he just felt excitement and anticipation. He looked out across the stars and took in vast vistas of information at a single glance. He started to survey the routes one by one, moving smoothly along them and seeing where they led. It was total chaos in Axis space. Most routes were clearly too dangerous. Everywhere he looked there seemed to be raging battles, Skyhawk patrols or other hazards, like deadly radiation storms. But there were a few patches of clear space out there, a few safe channels. Lucky focused his attention on them, trying to string together a sequence to build a route that might get them all the way to Scorpio. At first he hit dead end after dead end, but he refused to be discouraged, a bit like working with fractions. Each time he reached an obstacle, he discarded the route and moved on to the next possibility. He kept asking questions, and the astrolabe responded, giving him all the information he wanted, and more. He smiled to himself. It felt so good to move through space, to find connections over vast interstellar distances, to think and see at the level of the stars themselves. But then he heard something that made his smile fade, those strange sad songs again, those fragments echoing across infinity. He heard them clearer than ever before. The wolf is on the prowl, the wolf is breaking through, the wolf is bursting loose. The voices seemed so full of fear and grief, he wished he could help them. But he had a job to do here, and only one chance to do it. He made himself focus on navigation, only navigation, and went back to work. It was clear that a single, straightforward route would not get them there. But what if he put together parts of different routes? He started to improvise, trying anything and everything to expand his options. Still, he kept falling short. But each time he got a little further, a little bit closer. He kept going, refusing to believe it was impossible, refusing to give up. Trial and error, again and again. He kept trying and failing, but he kept going, bringing himself closer and closer and closer, until finally there it was before him, as if it had been there all along. A swirling spiral corkscrew of a course that was so unlikely no one could possibly predict or prevent it. And of all of the infinite possibilities, the one and only pathway that would take them clear through to their destination. The only safe way to Scorpio, the route. He knew it was right the moment he saw it. He felt it deep within his being. He had the sense of something slotting into place, clicking, satisfying. This is what I've been looking for, he thought, but I can't get carried away. There's too much at stake. I've got to be sure I'm right. So he checked and rechecked and rechecked the route every time it came clear. Calmly, smoothly, he pulled his consciousness back out of the astral body and returned to the reality of Mystica's quarters. In the soft candlelight, the old lady was applauding him. Bixie was cheering, her needles flashing neon pink. Bazooka was flapping her feathers, merrily sneezing jets of flame. Because there was his route, projected on the vid screen, and even he had to admit it was a beauty. My word, said Professor Bazantine, what a route. What do you think, Captain? Said Lucky. The captain shook his great head. I don't know what to think, he said at last. It might work, it may perhaps. He stood up with some difficulty. I'll go to the cockpit and see what I can do. And with that he shuffled out of Mystica's cabin. They watched him go in troubled silence. A moment passed, then everyone started cheering again, congratulating Lucky on finding the route, calling him a brilliant navigator, a born star sailor. It felt so good, he could almost forget about Captain Knox, and he could almost forget that he'd just lied to his friends. Ouch. Roman 4. The wolf is bursting loose. The Astraeus of the sea cannot fathom it, for every one of us will be washed away. Thank you very much. Oh, do look at the book talk activities. Thank you.